Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat hath not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
And thank you, Elise Bryant. This is To Heal DC. Elise Bryant, as many of you know, can be heard every Thursday at 1 p.m., the head of the DC Labor Chorus, and much, much more. We are thankful that Elise could sing this song live on our airwaves today, and we thought it was appropriate, of course, for many reasons. This is actually the last week of Black History Month. I'm not sure I've heard the song this year on PFW yet, but today we decided to start the show with it. And also, we are, of course, facing many severe challenges each and every day. And I think this song gives us hope. I know it gives me hope. And we are going to be honoring this hour two giants, two giants in our community who have become ancestors, and that is none other than the Reverend Graylan Hagler and the Reverend Jesse Jackson, both of who left us on Tuesday. And we're also dedicating a Lift Every Voice and Sing to them. I know they would appreciate the song. So we have two special guests that are honoring our heroes this morning. We're going to start in a moment with Reverend Willie Wilson, Union Temple Baptist Church. And then in the second half hour, we're going to be talking with Tom Porter, who, of course, needs no introduction on these airwaves. And I believe Reverend Wilson is going to be talking about both Graylan Hagler and Jesse Jackson. Let me just announce for those people who may not know that Graylan's celebration of life will be next Sunday, March 1st at Plymouth Congregational Church at 3 p.m. I believe PFW will be broadcasting it. And we'll probably be talking about Graylan Hagler next week as well, to make sure that we give him his love that many of us have for him. So, welcome, Willie Wilson. Let me just introduce Willie Wilson for those of you who may not know. A leader in our community and with the Union Temple Baptist Church for over 50 years, since 1973. He came and grew the congregation from, I'm reading, 25 people to thousands of people now belong to Union Temple. He is now the pastor emeritus since 2022, passing the leadership to his daughter, who's Anika Wilson Brown. But of course, Reverend Wilson is still very much with us. He's been a major force in DC around social justice and much, much more. And many of us remember the tremendous support he gave to Marion Barry as Marion Barry came back after being in much trouble and people trying to put him down. But Reverend Wilson played a key role with Marion Barry. He's had many speakers at Union Temple, including Nelson Mandela and, of course, Jesse Jackson. So with that said, welcome, Reverend Wilson. So glad you could join us.
Thank you, Johnny. So happy to be here. And as I was listening to that song this morning, my heart was stirred when I think about the great work that both Reverend Graylan Hagler and Reverend Jesse Jackson did, which lives on in all of our minds and in our hearts because of their great efforts and sacrifices that they made to make a difference in the world and particularly among our people.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one reason I thought it was great to play that song for them.
Yes.
So, of course, wherever you would like to start, Reverend Wilson, if you want to maybe start with Graylan, or it's up to you.
Okay, let me just start with Graylan. You know, I don't think I can find all the words to express what he has meant to me personally, what he has meant to our city and to the nation in terms of this effort that he has put forth day in and day out, year in and year out, every cause, not just one cause, but every cause involving righteousness and the upliftment of the downtrodden and the dispossessed. Graylan was always there. I remember when I called pastors across this city when we were dealing with the rise in the water bills, understanding that that was something that could cause people to lose their homes. And when I went down to the council, I stood up and said to the council, there will be no meeting here today. And the one person, the one pastor out of all that were in that room that stood up with me almost instantaneously, when I looked to my left, there was Graylan standing with me. We caused that meeting to be adjourned, went into the chambers with the chairman of the city council, and immediately got $12 million of relief for those people who were suffering with the large water bill. So I remember Graylan so much. Every cause, every rally, every meeting, one person that you knew was going to be there is my dear brother Graylan Hagler. So it's a great loss for us. I hope that all of us will reverence what this man meant to us and to this city, with a remembrance that we're going to do more. Everybody will do more because of all that he did to bring about change in our city.
Absolutely. And of course, he's very much a part and will remain very much a part of WPFW.
Yes,
Had a regular show on Wednesday mornings on with Verna Aver Brown's team. And of course, he was on this show with me many, many times. He was extremely a personal close friend of mine, as he
yes,
was to many. And next Sunday is actually his birthday. I had the blessing of spending his birthday with him last year. But there are so many stories about Graylan in honor of Graylan. We are going to be keeping him with us, and he is with us. We'll
yes,
be having more discussions of many, many people who would have been on this hour of if it wasn't for the fact that we're honoring two heroes. But of course, many people in our community work closely with Graylan Hagler on any number of issues, including, of course, Graylan was really the leader of the boycott Target movement this
yes,
past year. He was out there for every Saturday for months and months, for much of the year.
yes,
When I think he only missed a few times. There was a big rally November 29th. I think he didn't make that one, but he made almost every Saturday.
mhm,
And of course, he had a group of pastors that he worked with, Faith Strategies, and he was still writing articles, speaking up against Gaza and much, much more. I think it was just a week or so ago, maybe it was 2 weeks now that he wrote an article. He was still
mhm.
texting, and I'm thankful, uh, Reverend Wilson, that you were with us. We had a special uh, celebration of Graylan
Yes.
the end of last year,
Hmm.
and I'm glad you're there. We're there along with many other
Yeah.
people, including
Yes.
I'm thinking now of Janice Lewis George, and the
Yes.
room was packed. So
Right. Yeah. Yes, it was.
yes,
It
it
was.
was. So Graylan
Yeah.
Graylan Hagler present day. He is not leaving us. He is with us. He will always be with us. He'll certainly always
Always.
be
Yes,
with
indeed.
us on WPFW, and we will be continuing to lift him up, and of course lift up his family, his beautiful little girl, and so this is just the start of our talking about Graylan. It's not going to be ending
Yeah.
anytime soon.
Right.
um, so, and I know that Reverend Wilson, you have a lot of stories as well as about Jesse Jackson. So
Yes. Well, going back to his run for the presidency of the United States, I was a delegate from D.C. to the National Convention of the Democratic Party and was there when he made his speech. In my opinion, the greatest speech that he ever made was the speech that he made that night. And it was a powerful, powerful, and it was so inclusive of all of the downtrodden and the dispossessed. One phrase that he continually said over and over again. I know who you are, as he related his own upbringing, his own experiences, and what he did for our people. I just hope our people, I've been so concerned that I've seen a few people posting negative comments about Jesse. Here's a man that did so much for
mhm.
our people, and for the downtrodden and the dispossessed. Many elected officials, including President Obama, the way was paid for them by Reverend Jesse Jackson. Many who own franchises of food franchises and positions in government and other circles, it's all because of the efforts of Jesse Jackson. And not only that, but those, I don't know of any other individual who was able to go and free some of our military captives and bring them home, bring them
Mm-hmm.
back to America. And it's quite unfortunate that this government did not recognize him by allowing him to lie and state in the rotunda as he should have been. But I just hope that in our community that we will lift him up, that we will recognize the good that he did, which was tremendous and overwhelms any negativity that anyone could ever say about the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He came to Union Temple on many occasions. I organized youth to go down south to register voters when he was running for president. He spoke at Union Temple more times than I can count.
Mm.
We had a great friendship, a relationship, and I just thank God for his life, for his family. His wife is from my hometown in Virginia. I knew her before I knew Jesse. And of course, I thank God for him and for his life and what he has meant to all of us. I think that as a community, irregardless of what the government does not do in terms of recognizing him, that every one of us need to recognize these two great men and
Mm-hmm.
their contribution to our people and to our community. It cannot be measured what either Reverend Graylan Hagler or Reverend Jesse Jackson did to make a difference among our people and in our community, and we should honor them and lift them up in every way that we possibly can. In the ancient Ma'at tradition of ancient Egypt, what they would do is the understanding in Ma'at is that you would place all the good. This is where we get the scales of justice from.
Mm.
You would place an individual's good on one side of the scale and an ostrich feather on the other side of the scale, and your good had to outweigh that ostrich feather. It is no doubt in my mind, in both of these great men, that if their good was put on that scale over against that ostrich feather, they would outweigh that ostrich feather because of the great things that they did, never stopped, never gave up, always fighting for justice and fairness and equality. I love both of them more than I can even express. And I pray that everyone will lift them up. Everyone in our community should have their own personal ceremony. I understand Jesse's remains are going to be brought here to Washington, D.C., and I hope every person in our city, regardless of what the government didn't do, will honor and recognize them, bringing about war prisoners back home. And the list go for Jesse Jackson. It goes on and on and on. And I cannot express what they meant and mean to all of us. And we should honor them in the greatest kind of way for the service for Reverend Hagler on next Sunday at 3 p.m. There ought to be people down the street and cannot get into the church to honor this great man for what he has contributed to making a difference, to bring about justice, fairness, and equality for all people.
Absolutely. And we're thankful to have this great man, Reverend Willie Wilson, on with us this morning. And in a moment, we're going to take a pitch break, our pitch break with Katia. But I want to just also send a shout out. People are sending me shout outs to you, Reverend Wilson. And I want to give a shout out to uh, Reggie Robinson, who is a cardiologist, a top cardiologist in our city. He's won many awards, but
Yes,
he's part of Union Temple,
my
and
dear
he's
brother. Yes,
and
indeed.
part of WPFW. We wish we had originally planned to have him on talking about what people can do to protect themselves against heart disease and heart attacks. But he's with us. He's listening, and we thank him and thank everybody who supports PFW. And let's see, I think it's about time we're gonna see if we can convince some of you to go to the phones, to go to our website. Is Katia on with us? I don't know. But this is our last Monday of the pledge drive. You can make a donation, of course, the old fashioned way on the telephone, 202-588-9739. 202-588-9739. You can also go on the website, wpfwfm.org, and make a donation there. We have a goal, I think, of $600 for the hour. And this, of course, is the last week and the last Monday of the pledge drive. So we really need your help. Again, we have a goal. And if Katia doesn't come on, I'm not going to be able to share some information that is needed to be shared. I don't know if anyone's made a pledge yet. But we, of course, now more than ever, we need your support. And one of the ways that we are encouraging you to pledge this drive is what we call becoming a sustainer. That means that you can just pay a small amount if that's all you can afford, $10, $12 a month. And that will, $12 a month, $10 a month would come out to, I think, $120. That would go a long way for us. So become a sustainer, for those of you who haven't done so yet. And, call. You can also Cash App a donation, and that will be very helpful for us. Of course, we have a tiny, tiny staff. That's probably why Katia can't be on, because she's extremely busy these days. But we need to pay our staff. We need to pay the light bills. We need to pay the cost of the transmitter. And so now, in these very treacherous, dangerous times, we need WPFW now more than ever. And of course, Graylan would be the first to support us in that. So make a pledge in honor of our dear Reverend Graylan Hagler. Make a pledge in honor of Jesse Jackson, but especially Graylan, because he was part of our radio station. And I know that he would want you to make a pledge. He wouldn't want you to make a pledge for him, but we do. We love Graylan, is very, very important. And I know he will always inspire me, that's for sure. Yes. So, and of course, we miss our regular engineer, Mike Nacella, who left us. I think it was February 2nd. So I don't know if that was only 2 weeks ago, but we miss him dearly. So I'm not sure if we've gotten any pledges. I don't know if the engineer can help me out, but otherwise we will move back into our discussion with Reverend Willie Wilson.
Well, let me just say, Joni, I'm going to do the $10 regular donation every month. Oh,
great!
So I will call that in and Cash App as soon as I get off today.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And you can follow Reverend Wilson. And the engineer tells us we have not gotten any pledges yet. And so, folks, we just did from Reverend Wilson. So we thank Reverend Wilson for that. But as people know, this is a tough time. And it's not a time to let PFW struggle. We did well the first week of the drive. Now we're in the last week of this drive. So we really need people to jump in and support us. So
hello, Joni.
Oh, Katia's here. Hi.
I am so sorry. Yes, I am here. I want to say, of course, hello to all of your guests. Thank you, Reverend Wilson, and thank you, Tom Porter, for joining this morning. And this is WPFW. If I can say real quick, Joni, WPFW is a community, and Joni is adept and excellent at bringing the community together, especially in trying times. And so if you appreciate the work that Joni does, really being an activist in this city, like the Reverend Graylan Scott Hagler, like, of course, Jesse Jackson, who, by the way, was on WPFW's air many, many times, like these two gentlemen here, Reverend Willie Wilson and Tom Porter, also community activists. If you appreciate that we bring these voices to the air, and Joni has done this for decades now. Please make that call that makes the difference for her. We have a goal of $650, and we want to make the goal for To Heal DC. We did it last week, and we can do it again this week. So very quickly, one more time, the number is 800-222-9739, or you can go online to WPFWFM.org. I would say that this program, more than most others here, really is outward facing to our local community here, making sure that the voices that often are overlooked in legacy media, even in the DC area, are here on WPFW, and that the truth is told, that facts are here, that, the work of people like Reverend Wilson, Reverend Hagler, Tom Porter, Harriet's Wildest Dreams folks, Free DC folks, is always front and center. That is what Joni Eisenberg does. So we must lift up this program, and we do that by supporting it financially. Consider becoming a sustaining member at the $120 level. If we have 6 people doing that today, that would mean $10 for a year. And that is, for some, I know, very manageable. And if we do that, we can exceed the goal this morning. So let us pull together. Many hands do make light work. Give that number a call, 800-222-9739, or you can go online to WPFWFM.org to support the incredible work of Joni Eisenberg and Chuck Hicks and To Heal DC.
Thank you, Katia. And Reverend Wilson has to leave in a few moments. I want to give him a few moments before he leaves us for today. Any final thoughts before you go, Reverend Wilson?
Well, I just would say I hope that everyone will, as I said earlier, lift up these 2 great men and the great work that they have done. This is Black History. We talk about Black History Month. These are 2 individuals whose names will be indelibly inscribed in the archives of history for the great work that they have done. And so I hope that all of us will honor them with the highest respect, and make sure that your children and everybody knows about the great work that these men have done, and that maybe each of us will take hold of. One of the great things about seeing others and the work that they have done, it calls for us to come behind and do as well. The same commitment, the same dedication. And again, let me just say a word about this station. Every time I come on here, it usually is at a time when there's a drive on, and I have already made my commitment for today, as I usually do. I want to encourage everyone. We do need this station. It is very important. We need the voice that WPFW provides for all of us, all across this city, across the nation, where it is heard. So I encourage you, if you haven't done it, do it right now. This goal should have been met in the first 5 minutes. And I'm going to ask that everybody who has not done it, do the $10. Do what you can do. If you can't do 10, do 5. Do something. But everybody, I think that goal is very nominal, and it should have been, and ought to be met in just a couple of minutes. So do that right quick while we're waiting for our dear brother to come on. Do that very quickly.
Yes.
I'm going to have to be on my way, but I just want to say I love all of you, and I thank you for honoring Jesse and Reverend Hagler today, because they're more than deserving of any and every honor that we can bestow upon them for the great contributions they have made, not only to this city, but to the world.
Thank you, Reverend Reverend Willie Wilson, and many blessings for you today. And we're going to jump right into Tom Porter, who's waiting. But let me just say that this week is also Chuck Hicks's birthday. So if you'd like to make honor Chuck, make a donation in honor of Chuck Hicks. His birthday is February 25th, and we'll talk a little bit more about Chuck's fabulous event on this past Saturday for Black History Month at the end of the show. So thanks again to Reverend Wilson. And now we're going to give a big drum roll. Well, first, let me say you're listening to WPFW 89.3 FM, a station for jazz and justice. And we're giving a big drum roll, a welcome to none other than Tom Porter. Tom Porter is a hero in our community. Many of us consider him and call him, including me, the godfather of WPFW. I wouldn't be on the air if it wasn't for him, and a lot of others, people you hear wouldn't either. But he has done a tremendous amount of things in his lifetime. And this morning we're going to focus on his work with none other than Jesse Jackson. So welcome, Tom.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. And I want to just reinforce what Reverend Wilson just said. Think of what life would be without WPFW. This is the only station in the world which is led primarily by African Americans and does the kind of work that it does. And I think back of the things that WPF done. Some of you may not remember they wanted to pass a death penalty in Washington, D.C. And WPFW went on a death penalty watch and were able to rally the community to defeat that. Some of you may remember when we went on a peace watch during the Iraqi war. So there's a lot to be thankful for, and there's a lot for you to reach in your wallet. Everybody can give something. Don't ever say you can't give nothing. You can listen free, but knowledge and information that you get on WPFW is not free. So I encourage all of you to go to the phone and make a pledge, not just to this show, but for WPFW, a station that has a big heart. I mean, you may not like some things, but you like some things, else you wouldn't be listening. So step up to the plate and make a pledge to WPFW.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. And I want to let listeners know I've been talking about what Tom Porter did to stop the death penalty from becoming law in this city back in the 90s. And Tom Porter deserves a lot of credit, and not just credit, but it's a time to really talk about it now, since I think is it Trump who's trying to install the death penalty for teenagers in DC? So we need to think about what Tom did back in the 90s and consider doing something like that again to make sure that we don't have the death penalty instated here in DC. But with that said, Tom has had an amazing, of course, many stories in his life, but his relationship with Jesse Jackson is really quite inspiring. He's gonna, I think, tell us about the role he played in Jesse's 1984 campaign for president, and what Tom's role was. But Tom, maybe you can start out by sharing with us, how did you first meet Jesse, and how did you get involved with the 1984 campaign?
Well, I was I was originally a member of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, which was started, I believe, in Chicago in 1941. A lot of people don't know that. And in 1964, at the CORE convention, Roy Ennis and a group of renegades pulled a coup in CORE and kicked out all of the radical members across the country, including Julius Hobson from here in D.C. And so as we drove back from the convention in Kansas City, there were four of us in the car, Leonard Ball, Jared Ball's father, a couple other people, and we debated what would we do, because we weren't going to follow those renegades, those criminals, really. And so we became affiliated with SNCC. And so at that time, SNCC, which was basically Southern based, it got a Northern presence because of all of the core chapters that affiliated with SNCC. And later on, I became, I ran across Jesse a lot. I directed the King Center in Atlanta. I came to DC to direct Antioch's Graduate School of Education. And on our faculty, we had Jack Odell, Bob Rhodes, Tony Montero, and a host of other people. It's probably the most radical educational center ever had in this country. So that's a whole nother story. So I knew Jesse and ran into him over the years in the McGovern campaign. I was director of the King Center, ran into him then. And anyway, make a long story short, I was in Ohio running for Congress, and I got a call from Mrs. Jesse Jackson, Jackie Jackson, who called me and said that she knew that Jesse wanted to meet me and wanted to talk with me because the Negroes who were in D.C. would not tell me where the meetings were. And she said, Jesse will be home for Thanksgiving, and why don't you come to Chicago? So on the day before Thanksgiving, 1964, I flew up to Chicago and spent the night at Jesse's house. Sometime during that day, he said to me he wanted me to travel with him and work with him. And I agreed, and so I became his chief policy analyst in '84. Now, the reason why I was, and this is very, very important, the reason why she called me, because Jack Odell, who's perhaps one of the greatest strategists and political minds that ever crossed the earth, who was called by J. Edgar Hoover the most dangerous man in America, those Negroes in the campaign red-baited Jack. And so Jack could not be in the campaign. And so I was really chosen to take Jack's place.
Wow. And of course, Jack Odell is very much a part of Pacifica, and this radio show
we had chair of the board of Pacifica.
Yes. Yes, and I'll just squeeze in here that he was very much involved with our movement for universal health care, and I think influenced Jesse to make sure that Jesse spoke out about the need for everyone.
He was a major influence on Jesse. I mean, he really took Jesse, just as he did for myself, and making a way for me to travel around the world, to Moscow, to Cuba, to Germany, and a number of places. In fact, I met Mrs. Jackson on a trip to the Middle East when we were a delegation that went to meet with the PLO, spent a lot of time with Yasser Arafat and some other people. So that was how I got connected with Jesse. And in the early days of the campaign, there were three of us, Jesse Jackson, Florence Tate, and myself. We were called a road team, and we were traveling across the country, the three of us.
Wow.
And that's how I got connected with the campaign.
Wow. And I was going to say, maybe share people who don't know about Florence Tate, maybe something about her.
Well, Florence was the mother of Greg Tate, but I knew Florence and Charles Tate back in Ohio when they lived in Dayton, Ohio, and they were very active in the movement in those days, and we later migrated to D.C. Florence was always connected with SNCC. She had also been the press secretary for Marion Barry. She was certainly well known and deserves a lot of accolades.
Absolutely. And Tom, share with us perhaps what were some of your key policy focuses or that you helped make sure that Jesse Jackson prioritized in that 1984 election campaign?
Well, I mean, when in my role, one of my roles was, as we went into each city, was to develop the bullet points that Jesse would speak on in a given city, because each city had their own issues, as well as the larger message of the campaign. I was very instrumental in the trip to Syria to obtain the release of Lieutenant Robert Goodman. Myself and Jim Zogby did all of the go-between with the Syrian embassy and the campaign.
Wow.
And in fact, Jesse never set foot in the Syrian embassy. But I was, you in the work that you do each day, you are coming up with things, sharing things. I remember when Jesse used to talk about technology, and I shared with him that technology in and of itself was neutral, but the important thing about technology, it should not triumph over purpose, because at that time he was talking about the negatives of technology, and I added the purpose as important. that it should not be more important than purpose. AI should not be more important than the purpose of the people. So I mean, I wrote the challenge to the Democratic rules. Jesse challenged the rules of the Democratic Party because they favored what was called in a front loading, which meant that the candidate had the most money who got out early had a greater chance of winning. And he challenged the rules to the Democratic Party and forced them to make some changes.
Wow. Okay, you're listening to WPFW to Heal DC. This is me, Joni. We're talking to Tom Porter, who many of us consider to be the godfather of WPFW, but he's much, much more than that. Katia, if you're with me, it's time for another what we call pitch break for those of you who can see fit to make a contribution. Hi, Katia.
Hi, Joni, and thank you, Tom, for that history. I am friends with Brian and was a good friend, very close friend of Greg. So I know Mrs. Tate very well, and she was a powerhouse politically and in the social justice arena. And, you know, again, Joni is bringing us this history through the words of Tom Porter, through Reverend Willie Wilson, who just left us. And of course, we're talking about Black history. Tom is Black history in the District of Columbia. Reverend Wilson, same thing. WPFW is Black history because we are, as Tom mentioned, and we don't say it often, but we should, we have always been the only station that specifically was founded at the time of WPFW's founding to ensure that the voices that were marginalized and disenfranchised in the city of Black people were brought to the air. That is what the founders did. Pacifica had a different thing in mind. And thanks to Greg Millard and Denise Oliver and Lauren Kresslove and others, they said, no, we've got to respond to our local community. And that's what they did. And that's what we're still doing. We're still doing that work. So please, Joni does that work, chief among us. So please support, and Chuck Hicks as well, Mr. Yes. Black History, the work that he does in the city around Black History Month is incredible. So again, support that which supports you. We want to say thank you to a friend out of Washington, D.C. who's gotten us started, but we still are in need of $550. So again, I'm encouraging 5 people to pledge $10 a month, which would total $120 a year. And we get the credit this morning. Joni gets all the credit. Joni and Chuck get all the credit this morning, but you can space out your payments so they're manageable. We understand that it is trying times for many, but we also know there are many within the sound of our voices who have done quite well and have disposable income to give. And we also have to remember that when you give a pledge to WPFW and you support To Heal DC, you're supporting for those that listen and need the information and support with their ears and their spirits, but cannot afford to support financially. So this is also what makes it such a rich and incredible community vehicle. 800-222-9739, or you can go online again to WPFWFM.org, $550 to go, 17 minutes to do it. We can do this together, folks. Please support the good work of To Heal DC. Every week, it is just stellar interviews with folks in this city who are doing incredible work, who are making a difference in the lives of those that are the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, sometimes forcibly silenced, and linking that to work across the globe for people, again, in other places that are forcibly silenced, that are marginalized, that are forgotten. That is what To Heal DC does. So again, 800-222-9739, WPFWFM.org are the ways to connect. $550 to go. Let's do this for Joni and Chuck. And for Chuck's birthday. Happy birthday, dear Chuck. For Chuck's birthday. Let's do it this morning for him.
Absolutely. And before we leave, I'm going to talk a little bit about the outstanding program that Chuck did on Saturday. And every year there are people that are honored. And a couple years ago it was Tom Porter that was honored and gave the keynote address. So let's jump back to Tom. We have about 5 minutes or so left with Tom. So Tom, when you think back on Jesse, what other, and especially your work in that 84 campaign and other things, what
Well,
else? Uh-huh.
I'd like to, first of all, I think we should also pay tribute to Mayor Marion Barry, because without him, the campaign would not have gotten off the ground in the way that it did. Marion made the DC Convention Center available to Jesse Jackson to announce that he was running.
Wow.
And he also made a lot of his staff available to work on the campaign. And one thing I want to really clear up is the fact that Jesse was not an anti-Semite. The the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, interrupted his speech at the convention center because Jesse had a pro-Palestinian position. And so the whole thing about Jaime was a hoax. They were looking for a way to derail the campaign.
Of course.
In the early days of the campaign, I can't think of his name, Meyer Kohani or something like that. And the JDL followed us at every stop that we made across the country. And it was thanks to Minister Louis Farrakhan, who provided us security before Jesse got Secret Service clearance to protect us all the way across the country with the fruit of Islam. And so the Jaime thing, nobody ever heard Jesse say Jaime. He basically said if we were going into Alabama, where we got to work with Mose and we got to work with Bubba, and he would say, we're good and ready to go into Jaime Town. Now you have to put that in context. The first time at the Waldorf Astoria, there was a big Jewish meeting, and we were invited, and Percy Sutton met us in the hotel room telling us how we had to behave when we spoke to the Jewish audience. He even had a yarmulke on his head. So later on, when they heard that Jesse had said that, and he never said it in a negative way like we going, I mean, he never talked about Jewish people in a negative way. And so later on, they used that. And I told them, look, everybody has nicknames. They refer to us as Fartsers. So we need to be very, very clear about that.
Yeah. And Tom,
go ahead.
I just want to share, I've been thinking about this, but you give me the chance to share it. So I think it was around the time in the early, it may have been 1984, around then, that we were organizing for a special Passover service, and we were involving Jesse Jackson. He was right there with us, Lucy Murphy and a whole bunch of us, Gaston Neal, and other progressive Jewish people were organizing this Passover service. Jesse was actually supporting it and involved with it. And when I saw that negative, I can't say the word, but crap came out about Jesse, I actually wrote a letter to the Washington Post in support of Jesse Jackson. It's the only time I had a letter published. But Jesse was very supportive of everyone, but especially including that period of time, the progressive Jewish community who was doing things, positive things. So that was definitely something that they were trying to push Jesse under the rug. And what else would you expect them to do? Because Jesse was a champion of the people. So I'm sorry, Tom.
Well, and the second thing that I want to clear up is the narrative that Jesse made it possible for Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. Jesse made Barack Obama necessary. Jesse got 30% of the vote in 1984. He should have gotten a seat at the table. Instead, Clinton moved the leadership of the Democratic Party to the Democratic Leadership Conference, which was made up of Southern governors. He gave a number of people, and I'm not going to name them, they know who they are, jobs and titles in the Democratic Party, because at that time, Blacks were the base of a Democratic Party, and Labor financed it. And so, as opposed to giving Jesse a seat at the table, what they did was to hire his staff, marginalized him. He had to walk into the public door at the convention in New York, at the Clinton convention, and because he didn't have a VIP pass. And if you read the press back there, they were talking about how they didn't need Jesse and what have you. But they did know that given the strength of the Black community, they had to have a Black candidate. If you ever wonder, and I'm not speaking negative about Barack Obama, but he wasn't chosen, he was selected because they needed to respond to the base of the party, which was Black. And it wasn't that he made it possible, he made it necessary. And I think that's a very, very important distinction.
Absolutely. We're almost out of time with Tom Porter, but Tom Porter is always with us in spirit. Again, Tom Porter has done many, many things in his life, including bringing us, a lot of us that you hear all the time on the air. So, Tom, your final words for today.
Well, I mean, Jesse was controversial in some ways. I don't talk about things that I know because I was close, because that meant that I had a confidential position. And I don't talk about things that I've heard but didn't witness, because that's gossip. Jesse made a significant difference in the political life, not just of African Americans, but of working class whites in this country. I remember we were in New Hampshire and they said there are no poor people in New Hampshire. We announced that we were giving out food in the campaign headquarters in New Hampshire, and whites were around the block waiting to get that food. Jesse brought, I remember being in Great Bend, Kansas with the Posse Comitatus. Jesse had a broad reach in terms of building a populist movement. The only person since Jesse who's attempted to do that is Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. And I would say it is very, very important that we honor the good that Jesse did, that Graylan Hagler did, and that Marion Barry did, and Florence Tate did, and it's important that we honor people. We don't have to agree with everything that they said or did, but we have to honor those people who put their lives on the line for us and move us a little bit further down the road.
Yes, and Tom Porter has certainly moved us a little bit further down the road with everything he's done, including on WPFW. And mentioning Marion Barry, I believe it's his birthday, maybe March 6th. I believe his birthday is coming up. So those of you who may want to make a pledge for Marion Barry. And make a pledge for Chuck Hicks. As I mentioned, Chuck Hicks's birthday is this Wednesday, along with my good friend James Sherd. His birthday is this Wednesday. But Chuck Hicks did an amazing, just phenomenal, as he always does. This past Saturday, he had his annual, he's done it for at least 20 years, annual Black History Month celebration event. This was at Westminster. I want to also give a shout out to Mari, who helps us with this show, who helped to coordinate that day. And many, many people were involved. An absolutely inspiring, encouraging event for Chuck. So, Chuck, we thank you for that each and every year. Again, and tonight, Chuck has also been a part of the Baldwin play that's going to be taking place at the Lincoln Theater this evening at 6:30. I'm not sure if tickets may no longer be available, but Katia Stitt is actually the MC for this event this evening, The Fire on the Mountain, The Life of James Baldwin at Lincoln Theater. So again, James Baldwin celebrating his 100th year as well. We're just about out of time. So thank you, and let's go out with our outro song, and thank you to our engineer. Stay tuned for Mark Thompson with Make It Plain, and make a pledge for your radio station, WPFW.
Pledge that makes the difference.
Yes.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you. Oh, Ida Wells by name. Oh, can I have a word with you? When times were hard and you felt right low, how did you make it through? Oh, never giving up. Never giving up. Never giving in. You led forth the battle against lynching. Oh, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your courage.